All right, we're live. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn WWFD. What would Freud do?
3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I am one of your hosts, Corey Pepper, and I am here today with Paul Backler. Are you leaning against a wall?
I'm leaning against a wall, yeah. This is the wall that I'm sitting on my bed. I got a Casper mattress.
Oh, really?
It's super comfortable, even though, right now you're listening to us on a podcast, and this is the only podcast where they're not selling you Casper mattress. So you could type in Quality Time when you're buying your Casper mattress and get no discount.
Really? That's good. That's a good thing for all of our listeners to know. We're back this week with an episode, our season 6 premiere episode of Quality Time, which means, well, I tried calculating it out and I just got sad. So you probably know. Do you know the numbers? Like 120?
Yeah, this says it's about 123 or 124, but our numbers are a little bit off, so 120 some.
Because we had the 2-part European vacation. We had the art of being Nick last week,
which was one of my favorite episodes we've done.
Absolutely. And tonight we start with season 6, episode 1, which is the last of the Red Hot Psychiatrists, which I imagine is named after Neil Simon's wonderful play and movie, Last of the Red Hot Lovers. But I don't really understand why.
No, it has nothing to do with anything, except it's red hot, meaning that they're going to have romance.
And I guess the really significant thing in this episode is the beginning of an arc that stars Courtney Cox as Alex's, really his second significant love interest in Family Ties.
And you can tell she's the second significant love interest in Family Ties because they just recycle the exact same plot of The Real Thing from season 4, 3?
Whenever.
Yeah.
Whenever. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They didn't really, when push came to shove, they didn't really explore any new territory in this episode.
At all. The beats are exactly the same. The only difference is this is a pretty funny episode.
You know what? I totally agree with you. This is a pretty funny episode.
Yeah, everybody looked tan, and everybody had energy. They had a great summer.
Yep, and the script had a little zip to it. I guess we got a little bit, and I think you'll understand specifically when I say it got a little bit of that Ellen lift to it, having a younger female antagonist to Alex. A little bit of that Ellen lift.
Yeah, the problem is I am just not a huge fan of Courtney Cox.
I hear you. I'm not in love with her. I'm certainly not a Monica crazy about her. She was fine. As you know, it had me long for Talia Balsam. Was it Talia Balsam?
Yes, Talia Balsam, and then obviously Tracy Pollan as Ellen.
Or Gina Davis, another one where there was a little crackle.
The thing with Courtney Cox is she just is fine. Whatever the dialogue says she feels that at the time. But if you want someone who's actually playing a character, she can't do it.
No. She is what she is.
Yeah. What's on the page is what you get.
Uh-huh. And thankfully, in this episode, most of the time what was on the page worked for the large part. The biggest section that didn't work was the largest section of the whole piece tonight, which was that last scene where they were pouring their hearts out. You know, her story, his story, not the last scene, but the first scene of the second act, where she decided to pour her heart out, tell her story to him.
Right, exactly.
was just, it went on forever. It's just like, oh, stop this already. The scene is just going on. Nobody's listening.
Yeah. And also, this episode was actually an hour-long season premiere. We're breaking up into 2 episodes. One of the reasons being, why do we need to watch the whole thing at once? And 2, Scott isn't here, and we would love to have him on for at least half of this episode. So we're breaking this up, even though if you had watched it at the time, this would have been an hour of epic TV.
Scott who?
Oh, God. Wait. This is like Twin Peaks? Was Scott never here?
Is it real? Is this a memory? Is it a flash forward? Is it a flashback?
What year is it? Did you watch, Corey? Did you watch the season finale of Twin Peaks?
Oh, Paul, no, I'm so sorry I didn't.
It made me so upset. It ruined my weekend.
Did it? Was it terrible?
No, I mean, you could argue that it's terrible, but it's just such a, like, I went to watch Twin Peaks every week as a respite from this hellscape that we live in Trump's America. And then all of a sudden, the last episode just pulls out everything that you thought you knew over 25 years of storylines and just like a kick to the stomach. It's depressing. It's very depressing.
I finished Master of None's 2nd season. Did you watch the 2nd season of Master of None?
I loved it.
That is just about the best television I've seen in years.
Yeah, for a sitcom especially.
I feel like I'm insulting sitcoms by calling it a sitcom. It's so much more than that. It was just so moving, so touching. I felt like I got blue balls watching it for him. You know, I felt like I want her so badly. When is he going to get her? When is he going to get her?
Yeah.
For God's sakes. And now we have to go, how long? Years before they make another season and we find something out, whether it was forward or back.
Yes, yes. The only thing I thought was that they could have, I was like, I want to see more of him and her together. And then the last, like, 3 episodes of the season were that. And I was like, this is too much. It's too much.
Now it was too much for you afterwards? I couldn't get enough of it. It was like each episode was like a little jewel to open up on a nightly basis. God, it was delightful.
Did you love the New York I Love You one, where it's all the characters that you've never seen before?
Just a shockingly clever, interesting, lovely with him in the last moment of it was just terrific.
Yeah.
Really, really clever series it turned out to be. Very satisfying. So,
where we start? In the kitchen, getting ready for school?
We do. We start in the kitchen. Getting ready for school. Alex P. Keaton has new hair, as does Jennifer, as does everybody seems to have new hair.
Alex, this is the beginning of the end for me and Michael J. Fox. It gets real bad for another, like, 10 years of Michael J. Fox. It's like the Paul McCartney hair from the mid-'80s until he's just old, and then his hair doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But Michael J. Fox has gotten rid of his sideburns. That late 80s no sideburns thing, and then he's got mousse everywhere. Just lots of mousse.
Lots of mousse. And it's the first day of classes at kindergarten for sure. And thank God, how do you celebrate breakfast on the first day of your little brother's kindergarten, but you break out a nice cold pitcher of orange juice?
We missed you. We're glad to have you back, Orange Juice. It feels like a dawn of a new day.
I felt so good. It was like right off the bat, we go to the OJ, and it was like, wow, okay, it's a new season. I'll take it.
And you know what else, Corey? Dawn of a new day for Brian Bonsall. I think that his line deliveries in this scene were not bad. and you'll disagree.
Paul Packler, that was my news flash. That was the headline for my whole day. He improved 1,000%.
That's right.
He did not irritate me in this episode one single.
See? That, and saying 1,000% is the only amount that you could have said, because if it's the whole episode, he's in it quite a bit.
He is, and he's just fine. He's not irritating. It's as if there was an understanding behind his lines, like he went to a Roy London acting class, like he enrolled at the Stella Adler Studios.
Yes.
All of a sudden, Brian Bonsall is not terrible. And I had just begun to wonder, how long can you do something, stink at it, even at a young age, and nobody replace your fucking ass?
It just took a year. He was just a little too young to get what was going on.
Absolutely. And if this continues, I am much happier, and my cardiologist is even happier, because
now
not raise my blood pressure like he did.
If he continues to get better, or would you sign on for, once we finish with this, to watch the rest of Brian Bonsall's acting oeuvre, things like Blank Check?
No.
It was worth a shot.
No, it really wasn't even worth the shot. It was just silly talk. Well, we find out right after Brian Bonsall's Not Such a Bad Scene, we find out that Alex is enrolled himself, or is going to interview for a bunch of a psych class is looking for overachievers to quiz them and find out what makes them tick. So he's going to this psych class to be interviewed. And when he gets
also, it's nice that he is announcing that he's still enrolled in college, because the last about season and a half, we've just totally forsaken any idea that Alex has a college career.
Absolutely. And by the way, he reminds us pretty early that not only is he in college, but his sister is in a lesser college. There's a Grant joke right off the bat too.
Mm-hmm. They also do a thing, because if we're going to talk about how this is a recycle of the Ellen storyline, they also steal a joke from what happened last season and make it actually better. Is that Jennifer comes in and she's wearing torn jeans, and Elise is like, "You're not going to school in those jeans." And she says, "Why not?" And then Elise runs away, comes back half a scene later with Steven, and Steven says, "Because when we did it, it was a political statement." And no one had been talking about that for a while. So it was a great joke of, hey, remember what we were talking about before?
It was. It was just fine. It really was. Even when Steven said the word gnarly, which we almost had a whole episode involving gnarly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that's kind of weird to me is that Jennifer has always looked older. I'm shocked that she's just starting high school.
Yes. That's her first year of high school.
Yeah, she did not seem like she was an 8th grader last season, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. So he shows up at this and finds out that Lauren Miller is Courtney Cox. And Courtney Cox is Lauren Miller, and she is interviewing him. Is she a graduate student, or is she just a student like he is?
I want to say grad student, but I'm not entirely sure. But Corey, again, this is twice now you've buried the lead. It's the scene in the psych shop or office or lab or whatever starts with Courtney Cox talking with a monkey.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I do have it written down, but I couldn't read my handwriting. It says Courtney Cox and Chimp, but I can't remember Chip. I wrote, what the fuck is that? What is Chip?
You know you're in a late season of a sitcom when they start bringing in monkeys.
They bring out the chimp. Primates and sitcoms. Wow, I forgot. And this chimp does make another appearance later on in this episode, just for another momentary joke.
Yeah, this monkey's name is Chester, and he does sign language. This is, I guess, at the time that Coco the ape or gorilla or whatever, I don't know what the terminology is, forgive me, knows sign language. So she's talking with him, and then Alex comes in, and a trainer comes and grabs Chester, the monkey, and takes him off. And this guy has the biggest mustache ever, which means that he can't be an actor. At this point in the 80s, he has to be the actual animal handler who got like a Taft-Hartley SAG extension to be on TV.
Hilarious. Well, she sits there, Lauren Miller, and reads Alex's resume. And it's quite impressive.
He gives her a stack that's probably 3 inches thick for a resume.
Big books. Big books are funny. And she informs him after reading the extensive resume that he's been accepted into the study. And it's the first joke I thought was really, really funny. It was a schizophrenic joke, 2-for-1 discount.
Yes, because he keeps trying to haggle. He thought that he was going to get $100 a session, and she says overachievers only get 50, whereas other people with different mental illnesses or whatever get more than overachievers.
And then he inflates his worth once again. She accuses him of delusions of grandeur, which gets him to argue, okay, if it's delusions of grandeur, maybe you should pay me for that too. Yeah. They sort of haggle over the money, and the scene sort of, he says, narcissists like you, people like you, overachievers, all you care about the money. I don't care about the money at all. I don't care about it at all. And then, of course, he admits all I care about is the money. And they haggle, and they end up agreeing on 75. We're not.
Now, what's crazy about this scene is that Lauren is yelling at Alex B. Keaton. She is supposed to be running a science experiment, and she's already arguing with her subject. Like, this is not a double-blind study that they're doing or anything. This is like an intense breach of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already, not on Lauren's side in this. I'm like, Lauren,
she should be recusing herself already from this entire study.
Yeah, and it only goes downhill.
Mm-hmm. Well, the scene ends with Alex throwing out $75. That's his minimum offer. He'll work for 75. He goes home. They're back in the kitchen, and Mallory has a real funny speech about how she's going to combine her biology class and her fashion class at college. And I thought it was a real clever little, it was funny. She says her first project is going to be Darwin and survival of the best fitted.
Yes, it was good. It was a nice, well thought out little monologue, and had little jokes that everybody in the family can have as they're throwing things that are being like, that can't be. And then she says, oh, yes, it can because of this. And it's relatively clever. It's like a nice Daily Show middle bit.
It is. And then, of course, the phone rings, and you know who's on the phone. It's Lauren. Alex has already been accused by both his parents and his sister of having a thing for Lauren. And then when Lauren calls, he goes batshit crazy, nervous, schizophrenic, crazy.
Now, what's funny is earlier, like you were saying, Corey, is that everyone accuses him because when he walks in the door, he's already upset. And everyone's like, what's wrong, Alex? And he says, well, nothing. I don't want to talk about it. And then he immediately goes into this girl at school, Lauren. She's the psych thing, and she's trying to rip me off. And I've never been this angry about it since. And I'm thinking in my head, my God, they're just stealing the plot from that season with Ellen. And he goes, I haven't been that upset since Ellen. And everyone's just like, Zvronk. And so they're hanging a lantern on it. They're like, oh, we're just stealing this thing. And then, yes, the phone call happens, and he spills water on himself in a great bit of physical comedy. And then they ask if he wants the phone. He says, no, tell her I'm in the shower. And then he turns back. He's like, no, tell her I'm eating. And then, oh, no, tell her I'm eating in the shower. And then he takes the salad and the water with him, and he goes through the door, the Andy door, and it's some nice physical comedy by Michael J. Fox.
And a final little joke at the end, a little bump at the end, where another schizophrenic joke. Hey, you might be able to get the schizophrenic rate if you act like that.
Yes. And that's the act out, right?
It is.
So good job so far. It's cranking along, and it's got funny jokes, even though they're totally. It's like I haven't seen Evil Dead 2, which I guess some people might be angry with me for that because it's not my bag. But apparently Evil Dead 2 is just a remake of Evil Dead, but better, right?
Oh, of course.
No, you haven't seen it?
I don't think I've seen a horror movie since Rosemary's Baby came out in '68.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I thought maybe you might be into horror movies for some reason.
So Get Out.
Yeah, me too. That was great.
It was terrific. But other than that, no. Not horror.
No, I just can't get into them. They're
never
too scary.
Movie, never seen a Nightmare on Elm Street, never seen any of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're not missing out.
Okay.
With that, we'll be right back. And we're back. So,
If you couldn't get enough of the chimp in the first act, here we go.
No, here's the thing. If you couldn't get enough of the chimp in the first act, go watch the movie Project X with Helen Hunt and Matthew Broderick.
There's a Jason Alexander film with a chimp, too, if I remember correctly, involving a hotel.
Yes. No, I was going to say Bonzo. What's it called? Dunstan Checks In.
That's a Dunstan Checks In. Wow.
If Michael J. Fox doesn't make a cameo in that, I would be shocked.
We open with the chimp eating Michael J. Fox. Well, at least his headshot.
Yeah, it's totally just a headshot. It's not anything. It's just a black and white 8x10. I'm sure they had to like get a paper cutter and just cut off Michael J. Fox at the bottom.
Absolutely, it was very
doesn't
funny.
look like a family photo in the slightest.
Not at all. There was no attempt at it. It was a last-minute thing. And Alex and Alex comes in, and of course the chimp squeals and goes crazy upon seeing Alex. And then Chester goes in the other room, and apparently they couldn't find a monkey who could do this trick, so the joke takes place off camera. What does it mean if the monkey raises his middle finger to me? It means what you think it means.
Yeah, it's a great joke, and you could feel the heartbreak of them being like, we can't get the monkey to do this? Really? It would have been amazing.
Sure would have been good. They only would have had it pixelated a little bit. It just would have been great, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we start the scene, and it gets a little yucky almost right off the bat because Alex and Lauren start by apologizing to each other for the scene where in the office during the interview when they sort of got angry at each other.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is the exact same thing that happens when Alex went over to Ellen's dorm room and she's trying to hang up the what do you call it, the shelf on her wall, and they're like, I'm sorry for doing that last time. Oh, it's fine. Do you need help? And all this stuff. And then they laugh and they get close, and it's just the same dynamic.
And so she hooks him up at the beginning of the session to a machine that, for want of a better thing, we'll say is like a lie detector machine, like a polygraph machine, and buzzes every time the overachiever lies.
Yes.
So, and then she starts to ask him about his political beliefs, and it becomes apparent that what they're doing is literally playing the improv game that I call Another Choice. I don't know what anybody else calls it. You know the game?
No. How does it work?
It's a two-person scene, and whenever the director screams another choice, whatever line you say has to end with a noun. And then I'll just change the noun by yelling another choice at the end of the line. And it's going to be 3 different choices. So it's going to go, I really would love some ice cream. I'll have it in vanilla. Another choice. I'll have it in vomit. Another choice. I'll have it in hot molten lava with maybe some candied nuts.
Yes. Okay.
Continue the scene with that. So that's all that this is that game. It's a sort of a very well-known improv game. So it buzzes twice, and then you get the real laugh line the third one.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a very like well-trod technique or trope or whatever, but it's played very well.
It's played very well, and it works very nicely as banter between the two of them.
And Michael J. Fox in that moment of him trying to cover for the lies and stuff, it's just like most of the camera is trained right on him, and he is just firing on all cylinders. It's one of his best performances in a while.
Mm-hmm. And now they have, I'm not the overachiever, you're the overachiever, or let's hear your story now, Lauren Miller. And then we get a period of time where I can best say I just turned it off. I didn't listen to what the hell she was saying until she got to the dating portion of it.
Yes. Now, what's crazy to me here is she wants to interview overachievers, but then I don't know what this examination is for. I don't know what they're trying to figure out. It seems like she's just playing getting to know you with people as opposed to actually doing any sort of scientific survey.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you completely.
It's just like, what's happening? Everything just falls apart. I don't know. They're just at a certain point, they're just talking.
I was going to say, it's really from this point forward that while the show was amusing and well written and the performances are not terrible, nothing happens for the rest of the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Completely falls apart from this point forward because they lose sight of what they thought they had a story in the first act, and then they sort of just let their story become a very weak romantic comedy premise.
Mm-hmm. Whereas when things kept moving at a clip and stuff like that, it was great. Now it's just, it lost its momentum, and it's very noticeable because the first part was so great. And so all of a sudden he's trying to ask her out on coffee date, and she's like, no, I can't, but I do have to go to your house to interview families of the overachievers that I am dealing with.
Mm-hmm. For what reason? We have no idea.
No. And all of this seems like it's just her by herself. It seems very unprofessional that there's not like a team of people doing these surveys.
So the day arrives when Lauren is coming over to interview the family. Alex passes out talking points to his family.
Now, again, this from season 1, episode 1, when the racist girl, the racist rich girl from the country club is coming over, and it's one of the things that got Michael J. Fox the part, is that they were doing the scene in the audition, and Michael J. Fox, like, takes Jennifer's shoulder, or her arm, and puts it akimbo on her hip to make her look cuter, as just a bit of business. And people were like, Michael J. Fox has comedy coming out of his pores. So this bit of Michael J. Fox Alex planning out what his family's going to say to a prospective date or someone he's doing an interview with, making his family live up to his expectations, is a thing old as time, and yet I thought it was very funny. I thought what they did with it was new. I thought they had new bits to go with, and it was very good.
I totally agree with you. It was cute. It didn't work ultimately, and yet the whole thing was cute.
Yeah.
Even this whole scene was sort of kind of worked. And then in the kitchen, we get an Alex and Lauren scene where they talk, where Alex, she finds out that Alex knows a little bit about psychology.
Yes. He went to the library and looked up some talking points or whatever on psychology, terminology, stuff like that.
That's exactly right. And so all of a sudden he has a book on Freud, another big book.
And can I just say something, Corey? Like, I didn't minor in psychology or anything like that, but she goes, well, you know, it's like the id, and then he goes, and the ego. And she's like, what? How do you know that? And he goes, well, they're both run by the superego. And I go, hold on, everybody. This is like the end of The Wizard of Oz, when the Scarecrow gets his brain and says 2 sides of an isosceles triangle are equal to the square root of the remaining side. And you're like, no, Scarecrow, that's not true. That's a right triangle. The superego doesn't run the ego and the id. The ego runs the superego and the id. How did they not get that right? This episode, I have to reappraise everything we've said so far.
My world has been shaken. My mind has been blown.
Now, the feeling you're feeling is if you had watched all of Twin Peaks. I saved you that 18 hours.
Thank you.
Anyway, but yeah, so he's done a nice thing. He's shown interest in her and her interests as a you know, a nice thing to do.
She said in response to that it was very non-overachiever-ish, which I thought was a funny word.
Yeah. But at the same time, I disagree. I feel like an overachiever would do that. It's like Good Will Hunting, where he reads all of the books that all of his psychologists that he's going to wrote. So that way he can, like, you know, wheel and deal them. I feel like an overachiever would do that.
I agree with you. We cut back to the to the psych ward, the psych classroom.
And this is now they're a lot more casual this time, but he's still hooked up to the lie detector test.
And there's a hell of a lot of buzzing going on.
Yeah, yeah. Alex, I like his outfit he's wearing. He looks like David Bowie in Let's Dance. He's got like a white shirt on, a pink tie, like a knit tie, and then he's got big khaki pants on, and he's looking pretty hip. So she's just messing with him, and then all of a sudden he's like, all right, I'm done with the torture for the day. And she says, so, something about like, so are you dating right now? And he's like, oh, yeah. Oh, your parents told me about Ellen. And he's like,
that's the moment where I went, this is the treacly family ties that I know and love. Why do we need to discuss what you've basically shown us for the last 20 minutes?
Exactly. And in the reality of the situation, how dare his parents talk about Ellen to this girl who's just doing a science experiment?
Whom they also know Alex is interested in.
Yes, it's very weird. And let me tell you something. You know, you go out on a date with somebody or you're interested in somebody, a great way to make that go away is start bringing up your ex.
Yeah, I was going to give the dating lesson right there to the young people out there. When you go out on a date, try and not talk about the ex. It's usually a killer.
Yeah. Like, if you're really upset about someone that you are broken up with and you're trying to get over him or her, the first thing that you need to do is lie to yourself that you're not upset. I'm trying to give all the worst. You bury that emotion. That person is dead. And then you can go out with somebody new.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give the least healthy dating advice, Corey. I want that to be, after this podcast is over, that's my new goal, is the worst dating advice.
You know what? I think that's our follow-up podcast. Let's just give bad dating advice to people, but they have to write in. We need that.
Yeah.
Like,
and the more heartfelt what the information that they need is,
the worse the information we give to them. Can't wait for that.
But, I mean, Alex P. Keaton walks through the entire relationship for that season where he's like, oh, she went to Paris for a dancing thing. And, you know, she taught me a lot about life and love and seeing things in a different way.
And I brought her father here to meet her even though she didn't want to and told me she didn't want
I forgot about that.
No, she told me in as many words, please don't bring my father here. He brought her father here, and then she forgave him 10 minutes later.
Wow. He's really picking and choosing what information he wants to pass on. Maybe he does know a thing or two about picking up girls from the Paul School of doing the worst things possible.
Mm-hmm.
Paint yourself in the best light.
And so, she drops a stack of papers, and only one thing can happen when you drop a stack of papers, right?
You got to pick them up. And
when you pick them up, what happens then?
Most people like look the other way and make me have to do it by myself. Like most of the time, people are like, "Oh, look at that ceiling up there," and then I'm like, "Oh, I guess."
They do.
I guess I'll just do
they
this.
Look at a crack in the wall. They'll do anything not to help you. And yet, in this world, in Family Ties, he not only helps with the stack of papers, but they get lip locked down there.
Yeah, they do. Things get a little hot and heavy over a stack of papers.
Couple of kisses later, they're on their feet.
I mean, the thing about this kiss that's so odd is that he grabs her face before the kiss. I mean, it sort of robs it of, like, just the mechanics of being like, we're so close together, but now I'm grabbing your face and guiding it up to mine. Yep. It feels like if you were in that moment, it would feel like time slowed down of like, well, I guess we're doing this now.
It was uncomfortable. It felt bad.
It wasn't as magical as that dance.
No, but sure. Oh, no, it wasn't. Not at all. Billy Vera and the Beaters, too.
Oh, boy. And they don't even have a theme song, these two.
Nope. Unbelievable. But after the kiss, he's texted me and he said, when did the episode end? Because I watch it on Amazon and Paul watches it on DVD. So I see it how it's broken up into 2 episodes.
Right.
Because they're selling a whole bunch of episodes, but they're being charged by the episode, I'm sure. So it ends. I said to Paul, I don't know, I don't specifically remember on what line it ends, but right after the second kiss, it ends somewhere right after that.
And that was a nice thing, as opposed to the Ellen running out the dance and having it be the, oh my God, what's going to happen? I was pleasantly surprised that Courtney Cox turns around and she's like, oh, you know what? Boom! And it's just like a passionate kiss between these. And it just felt like they felt more grown up than before. Like, it's just like, you know what? I do like you. Let's.
Yeah. It was all right.
Mm-hmm. So that was a nice flipping of the script.
Yes, indeed.
So that's it for this episode. I mean, like I said, I would recommend people watching it. It's a funny episode. It flies by. The good definitely outweighs the bad.
By a lot. It did not. This episode did not disturb me, and you know I tell you when they disturb me. This one
yeah, last season was just the zenith of Family Ties, and this is such a great return to an earlier form. Everybody's fun. Everybody's funny. I was very happy watching this episode.
I totally agree.
All right. So next week, we'll be back with part 2 of the Last of the Red Hot Psychologists, and hopefully we'll have the same review with Scott around.
I'm hoping Scott'll be here.
We'll see. He just keeps saying that, he says, I'm a big flake, and I can't be bothered to join you guys. He said that. He texted me today saying that.
He was very apologetic when I heard from him.
Oh. So yeah. I guess he's just nicer to you. I guess he pushes me around and he's nice to you.
I suppose that's exactly how it works.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you next week, Scott. So everybody, rate and review our show on iTunes. For questions and comments, please email us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at QTWFT for updates, and you can follow each of us. I'm at Paul Packler.
I'm at Corpep, and Scott is at Follow Jones.
And you can like our page on Facebook. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is a comic book publisher and an online community supporting other creators and fans through daily reviews, interviews, and podcasts that span the pop culture spectrum. Fanbasepress.com. We'd like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs Family Ties into our theme song Without Us. Check out Perry's website, perryadams.com. We'd like to thank Bryant Dillon, who created our fantastic drawing and artwork, as well as edits our show. Bryant is the president and co-founder of Fanbase Press. Follow him on Twitter at Comic Book Slayer. Finally, we'd like to thank Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, for designing our logo. Now, if you've stuck around this far, Corey.
Yeah.
If you come up with something, or we can think about for next week, what would be the theme song for for Lauren Miller and Alex B. Keaton?
I don't know.
Do you want to think on it? We'll come back next week.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Bye.
La 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 la.